Well, here we are in the cider orchard. It's the main cider orchard, that is. It's the last Saturday of August. Starting to feel a little bit autumnal. The apples never really swelled this year. A lot of the trees had an off year. Cider apples are often like that. These are Harry Masters Jersey, which were grafted over onto another variety, Crimson King, which I didn't want so many of because they tended to rot on the tree quite badly. However, here's a few Crimson King, which, funny enough, they seem to be less prone to that now. So Crimson King, as I said before in my droll manner, not to be confused with the 70s prog rock band King Crimson. This is a row of fruit trees called a lebret. They're quite a regular cropper, very prone to scab, and like everything else this year, the fruit is way below normal size because of the very severe drought that we had. We've been trying to distribute some dung from our neighbours' animals, which should improve things a good deal for next year. Who knows, last year flood, this year drought. We've planted some new apple trees. This is called fill barrel. We thought we really ought to have some. By the way, I injured this carelessly mowing earlier in the year. I dressed this wound. It seems to be healing up okay. Just one little accident with a mower can kill a tree. Be careful. On the other hand, covering it up, as we've seen with one of the Perry pears, can rot the tree, so you've got to be careful. Here's another tree of the very same variety. This one's grown better than that one. Fill barrel. Got some Ash Ridge nurseries who've been able to provide us with a number of the harder to find trees that we especially wanted. We wanted fill barrel just because of the name. This orchard, as some might remember, we call fill barrel. So we thought we ought to have some of the cider apple of that name. So that's been growing away for 1 year, not bad. We've been watering them. Here's another new apple. This was Michelin, was it? Yeah, Michelin. That's growing okay. This is the boundary of the cider apples here. The trees on this side, as I'm wandering through this way, I'll just sort of a little update. These are the Bramleys. You might remember I've said I've had it with Bramley, and I've grafted these over. I cut them hard back, as you can see. That I call that hard. And you'd think you'd kill a tree doing this, but didn't anyway. Cut them back hard. They sent some shoots out. I let them grow for a year, and then in March of this year, it's August now. In April I did my grafting. In April, I grafted all of these with cider varieties. Those ones are Harry Masters here, and Yarlington further down. Here you are. There's the pencil of wood that went in from there to there. Saddle graft, double cleft graft, saddle, and that's the sort of growth it's made. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's about 10 yards of growth all told. This one I've made very poor growth, so I didn't graft onto it. This is the Bramley, just letting it graft away. I'll graft onto that next year. Haven't decided which variety. Oh, here, it's more of the same down that way. This is one I grafted over about 4 years ago. This is Somerset Red Streak. Again, this is a row of, these are 3 rind grafts here. This is a row of Tremlitz Bitter, which is a cider apple of some merit, but limited merit, and it's strictly biennial. I thought I wanted to put some different varieties in, so this is Somerset Red Streak, and we're going to get a few of them this year for the first time. This is the Tremlitz Bitter. It's an off year, there's only a tiny number of fruit. Here's another, you can see actually it's been watered this morning. Hangy Down. This is a very rare old cider apple, on one of the many that's on the verge of extinction. And my friend Jez Howitt particularly wanted me to plant one of these, so I have. And yeah, here's a row of Yarlington Mill. It's not really biennial, it's not strictly biennial. Actually, no, this is Yarlington Mill. This one I'm not certain about. This might be a lebret, not to worry. This is Yarlington Mill, and there's only one or two little clusters of fruit on this tree this year. This is quite a reliable tree. I think it crops about 7 years out of 10. This particular tree here, this is Yarlington, And this, I think, is probably the single most reliable of all my cider trees. And that brings me to the main job I'm doing here today. I'm propping some branches up with some stakes, because these branches are heavy laden, and Yarlington is, you can't feel that, but if you were here with me, you push it, you can just feel the weight of that branch, and it's growing. We had a little shower of rain early last night, so this needs some propping. And this morning I've been cutting some. I should have put up a video about that already. This is lebret. I've been cutting some hazel stakes this morning, medium and long. 6 foot is a handy size, but you often need a few, 7 or 8 foot, occasionally longer. Of course, you've got a little bit of leeway. They don't need to be cut precisely, you can angle them. Let's see, does this look about right, this one? Hey, it's nigh on perfect. Alright, so here's the art. Keep having a nuisance with this GoPro camera, because you don't know exactly where you're filming, but anyway, find somewhere it looks about, the balance is about right. This is an art rather than a precise skill. Tension this so it's holding it about right. Don't try and push it up too hard. Right, and here's another. So this is one big branch coming up there, and it's coming across. That one's probably going to be okay. If I support these two, is that too? I don't want to use up my longer ones, but I don't need to. Will that shorter one do? No, that was slightly too short. You can, of course, cut them if you like. When preparing these, to have an edge like that is sort of handy. It holds it into the ground a bit better. Which is the right best angle to do it from. It's to a large extent, it's a matter of judgment. That looks, I think, about right. Because you don't push it up too hard or you'll break it. You can break a branch. I just angle that across time. Yeah, I'm supporting that branch as well. That's locked reasonably well. I haven't found these skidding away to be a problem. I've seen them doing this in France, one of the orchards of Normandy. If you go to the website fruitwise.net and scroll through, you'll eventually find something about one of my cycle tours in France. Well, it's just slightly too short there, isn't it? It's 2 or 3 inches too short. Well, the last cycle tour I went on in France before I was careless enough to lose my cycle fitness and get out of the habit of it. And that was Normandy. I cycled through Normandy. That was too long, that was too short. Not to worry. But I took the cross-channel ferry from Portsmouth to Cherbourg, and then cycled, took 5 days to cycle down to Saint Malo, and then I got the ferry back from there. A lovely experience. Only one a bit medium size compared to that. And I took some photographs anyway of some orchards I cycled past on that lovely journey. Hey, if I can get fit again, and I have lost half a stone in the last 2 months. If I can get fit again, I'll see if I can reprise that trip. I'll grab the saw. If I find one of these, it's the right length, I'll cut one. Anyway, yeah, so this is the cider orchard. This variety, lebret, is probably carrying our best crop of any of the trees. It is quite a reliable performer. The Yarlington mill quite often breaks branches because it makes a very heavy crop. That's going to be, I think, just perfect. Actually, is that strong enough? It's a bit questionable. Questionable. This one looks better. Oh, that's better. I can see why, you know, the commercial people tend to, you know, go for their very highly controlled systems. Yeah, it's just actually perfect. But you know, with a system like what we've got here, no two trees are alike, or no two trees are identical. There's a huge amount of variation in the tree. It's more organic, to use that word, in its broadest sense, not in the narrow sense of not using pesticides. We do feel the need to use some. Is that about right? We need one more. So I'm rabbiting on a bit here now. Yeah, that could do with. Sometimes you'll lift a branch up, and it might not seem to be a very important branch, but it's bringing weight down on another, and by just a little bit of relief, you may avoid a broken branch and the loss of a considerable weight of fruit. The other minor benefit of supporting in this way is you separate branches out. That one's now lifted some way above there, above the one below it, so as well as not weighing on the one below it, increasing the risk of a break, it's also catching more light. So yeah, I hope that makes sense. So I've just cut some of these sticks out of the hedgerow and propped up. So 6 sticks up. Put that at Yarlington Mill apple, and I better just go and pick up that saw, because this is just when you lose tools, and a little bit of grass got grown over that. It could get run over by the mower, which could damage the mower as well as ruin the tool, and it's always a bad idea. Yeah, let's take a shot. I'll just finish the video by making one comment about this variety called lebret. We never intended to plant this variety. We ordered a variety called Sweet Alford, and that is what we thought this was. We discovered later through books, I think Liz Copaz's book, The Somerset Pomona, which is a lovely book. If you're at all interested in cider apples, you really should obtain a copy of Liz Copaz's book, A Somerset Pomona. It's really not very expensive, and it's full of beautiful pictures and lots of information. But we discovered that as a result of a mistake in a nursery, that lebret and Sweet Alford had been confused. You know, they grafted a load of lebret and it was labelled Sweet Alford by whatever mistake, I don't know. And of course it wasn't discovered very early on. Now, I once bought an apple that I was told was St Edmund's Pippin. It turned out that it was Spartan. Well, I diagnosed this myself in the first year because, of course, St Edmund's Pippin is a russeted apple, and Spartan is bright red. It's sort of not exactly crimson, but it's a red apple anyway. And so, you know, it's really obvious. And again, I can see how the mistake happened because the things were being grown alphabetically, of course. Spartan, St Edmund, both begin with letter S. So I discovered it immediately. However, lebret and you don't want to overdo this because you could snap the branch. if you overdo it, don't overdo it. Yeah, but lebret and so I'm stammering a bit today. Lebret and Sweet Orford are both they're both mid-season maturing sweet cider apples, so they're actually very similar. They're nowhere near as different as some of the other varieties that could have been. So the confusion was not detected for quite a long time, and eventually, it was too late really to do anything about it. From our point of view, I mean, we're not the sort of people who would have whinged or moaned about it. It was a bit late anyway. I mean, the thing is, I'd only bought one. I'd only actually purchased one of them, and then I grafted it and multiplied them. I suppose if I'd made a big commercial investment, I could have had grounds to kick up a stink, although I'm not the sort of person who would. In any event, it was Scott's Nurseries who bought them from, and they are now only a memory. Scott's Nurseries closed down and been disaggregated. It's probably a planning application to build a load of luxury homes now where Scott's Nursery used to be, and that's really very sad. Anyway, the point is the two apples are actually very similar, and you wouldn't really notice the difference. So so what, as the saying goes. Yeah, sometimes if you lift the branch up like this, it might not seem a very significant branch, but it'll just take the pressure off another branch. Yeah, I could probably do with a few more. We've got a big crop on this. This is definitely a branch breaking variety. You can see there's a really heavy crop. You can also, before I finish this video, you can see also that there's a lot of scab on this. This has had 2 applications of fungicide. I assure you, if it hadn't had any, all the fruit would look like this. Lebret, it's a very nice sweet cider apple. If you make a cider just out of lebret, it's a bit lacking, but it is quite a nice, pleasant, sweet drink. If you blend it with other apples to make a cider, a blend with sort of 40-50% lebret in it and some bitter sweets, once made possibly the nicest cider we've ever had. I mean, we only made 5 gallons of it, and it went to a party, and it all went one night, and people were delighted, and for years afterwards said, "Hey, got any more of that cider?" And I said, "No, it was a one-off." But it was a blend that was predominantly made with this variety, lebret. I'll just say one last thing about lebret. It's a lovely apple. It forms these long sort of ropes of fruit, and it will give you a crop most years, but it's very susceptible to fungal disease, scab particularly, and mildew, scab particularly. If you are absolutely determined that you are not going to use any fungicide, I would avoid growing this particular apple, because although it's a very generous fruit, it's a very high quality sweet cider apple, it's very, very prone to apple scab, which can, it's not a matter of the cosmetic appearance, it devastates the crop, we wouldn't be carrying a crop like this if we hadn't put in a couple of applications of fungicide. Okay then, well, I'd better sign off now, otherwise this video has been much too long, but I've got to do some more work.